Have you ever stared at a blank page, brush in hand, just looking, and instead of feeling inspired, you end up feeling a sense of hesitation? It's not exactly fear, but it's kind of like a, what now? And then you start to think, well, what if I mess up? Is there a right way to begin? Maybe I shouldn't start until I have a plan. And if this is what you're experiencing, then stay on because this video is going to take you through the different reasons and the ways in which we can start facing a blank page with a difference. Here's something that I have learned about the way we see a blank page. And this fear didn't start in adulthood. It actually started way earlier. Now, when my kids were in kindergarten, they used to come home with the sweetest little art pieces. But then when I visited their classroom, I noticed something. All the kids had made the exact same artwork. Same colors, same layout, same shapes. And each one was following the same steps and same technique. It's almost like they all had a template to work with. And that's when I realized that we have been all taught to believe from a very young age that there is a right way of doing it and anything outside of it might be wrong. And so years later, we sit in front of a blank page as adults. It feels like pressure, like we need some kind of master plan before we make the first move. It's like we need permission. But what if your art did not need a plan? And what if your first mark didn't need to be perfect? And instead, all it needed to be was yours.
The blank page isn't just empty, it is loaded. It holds every art rule we've ever been taught and every fear of not getting it right. Now, inside Brush Movement, we talk about unlearning. We explore the hidden narratives that shape how we show up. Just like the sin of pride, it might not show up as arrogance, but instead it shows up as perfectionism, control, and a deep desire to do it right. And at some point, this could also be at the expense of killing the joy of painting. So today, I want to offer you 3 ways to approach the blank page, hopefully without fear, overthinking, or the need for a perfect plan. The blank page feels unpredictable, and that's what makes it uncomfortable. But if we are really being honest, a big part of that unpredictability comes from the way many of us paint. We switch our brushes often, we change papers, we try new palettes, and we move from tutorial to tutorial. And because of that, we never really given ourselves the time to know anything deeply. So when we sit down to paint, it feels like everything could go wrong because nothing feels familiar enough to trust. The brush might feel unpredictable, the paint feels unpredictable, and so then we feel unpredictable. And this constant feeling where we are always resetting makes the blank page feel really scary. And it's not because you're doing anything wrong, but really we haven't been given the space to build a relationship with what's already in our hands. Getting to know your tools is one of the gentlest ways to begin. This is where instead of asking ourselves, what should I paint? You start asking yourself, what can this tool do today? When we start staying with one brush, one paper, and one limited palette, we are not restricting ourselves. Instead, what you're doing is trying to remove the noise. Because when things begin to feel familiar, the page is going to stop feeling like a test. And then there is the idea of planning. For some of us, the blank page feels overwhelming because our brain wants a map. This is where thumbs, can be incredibly helpful. It's not a strict plan per se, but what you want to create is a rough guide. Now, a thumbnail is not a promise where you need to follow it at the end. It's just a way to tell your nervous system that you are not lost and you have some direction. When you ease the mind, it's easier for your hand to take over. So don't be afraid of just scribbling your layouts, playing with different ways you can arrange flowers on your page, because this also creates more safety in your art creating process, and with more safety comes more trust. And this will be what helps to make your blank page a lot more manageable. I am sure you've heard of this before, where people say that it is just paper. Now, while it's a very important reframe, I also understand for artists who have invested in their art and started to use 100% cotton paper, this can feel like added pressure that you are adding to your practice. And at the same time, it feels a lot more scary. Now, I want you to know that the blank page doesn't feel scary because we don't care. It feels scary because we care a lot. And caring a lot often shows up as pressure because we want to show up well, we want the painting to mean something, and as a result, we add up a lot of pressure on ourselves. Now, if we can begin to think that the answer isn't so much about caring less, but really to shift your expectation and move into curiosity, this could really help you to change your mindset where we move away from being an artist into a scientist. Perhaps we start thinking about how we can make the page a playground where the page does not have to prove anything. And that truly it is paper. That paper can be folded, it can be turned sideways, it can be painted on both sides, it can be used badly, and it could also be used in a playful manner. This will allow you to let your hand lead instead of your mind. Now, the small shifts that are going to change everything is that sometimes making the page a playground doesn't require you to spend more time or more money where you don't have to invest in that 100% cotton paper. But what really needs to change is maybe instead of painting in your usual artist spot, you can try painting on the floor instead, or even in a different corner of your room, taking your sketchbook outside, or perhaps try using a brush that you typically don't use on purpose, or even painting with your non-dominant hand for just 5 minutes, because all of these little practices can help you to shift outside of having an outcome into starting to see your page as a playground. And this is really what's going to change in how you show up and not what you have on hand. Now, inside brush movement, this is something that I share a lot with our artists of all the different stages. We talk a lot about inner patterns that might stop us from starting. It could be perfectionism, comparison, the need to get it right. A lot of these are not flaws. Instead, we see them as protective habits. The work is not to get rid of them, and I want artists to just notice them and paint anyway, because every time you show up with curiosity instead of expectation, you are teaching yourself something far more important than technique. You are teaching yourself trust.
So the next time you sit in front of a blank page, don't wait for the perfect time, the perfect plan, or wait until you feel ready. Instead, just make one mark. Notice what it does and stay curious enough to make another one. Because art is not a test, it's a relationship. And like any relationship, it grows with attention, honesty, and a little bit of courage. If this spoke to you and you would love to find out more about the way we can shape how we think about art and start reframing our creativity in a way that feels sustainable, light, and joyful, then I would love for you to start by learning what your stage is in your watercolor journey. We have been working with Brush Movement Collective members and students all around the world, helping them to identify what stage they are in so that they will be able to identify what their next step is, how to paint with more joy, and to also stay focused so that they learn how to create a painting practice that feels sustainable and free. Click on the link below to find out what your stage is, and with that, I will also be sending weekly emails to help you to uncover more thoughts and beliefs around watercolor that could be keeping us from painting boldly. I can't wait to help you to reconnect with yourself and learn to make decisions based on your stage and style so that you learn not to paint like me, but paint like you.